Hello there, Starscream here for, well, I think quite a special sort of review for once, on the basis that I'm not doing any Transformers, I'm not going to look at computer games as such. What it really is I'm going to show you all the handhelds I've got, and there's a few odd ones which you probably have heard of but might not necessarily have seen yet, or not for years anyway. So I'm going to quickly show you all the handhelds I've got. Now obviously this isn't a definitive history of handheld consoles. It's only what I've got, so I can only tell you from my experience with the handhelds that I've got and used. But it'll give you a fair idea what's out there, and I'll give you a rating out of 5 as regards my opinion of each handheld. So I'm going to quickly show you all the ones I've got, and then we'll take it from there, okay?
Could be a quake any day. Maybe somebody from Siam. Begin the era of a new race. Keep slicking out the honey. Chewing up the fatty rates.
Right then, first up then I'm going to do the Gameboy. This is what people initially think of when you think of a handheld. Now this is the thing that really broke into the market of handhelds. Is a Gameboy. Everybody's heard of it, everybody knows what it looks like. It's got a black and green screen, which is kind of bizarre. The games used to come, we could get them in little packages. I mean, the initial selling point for the Gameboy was the fact you get Tetris on it. Now, I'm going to see if I can show you this on camera, which will be nice. It still works, kinda happy. It looks so dated. The only problem with the Gameboy, with games like Mario and the later games, is when you used to run along the screen, it used to flicker, so you couldn't actually see where you were going. I mean, I think, earful, you can hear it's going now. Look, now if I bring this up to you, I don't know if the camera's going to get this. I'm reflecting off everything, aren't I? There we go. Now if I can just... if it's going to respond. Apparently it doesn't want to play. I think it's so old. There we go. Hey, look, Tetris on the original Game Boy. What more do you want? I've got to work on that reflecting stuff, haven't I? Right, but there you go. It gives you an idea. This is what initially started off the whole handheld market, and this was extremely popular. It was outselling all the other handheld consoles for years. It saw the likes of the Game Gear and the Atari Lynx dead, gone, vanished. This thing lasted forever. They made a pocket version of this and a colour version of this. This console is quintessentially, I would go as far as to say, the handheld that everybody recognises and remembers. But due to the fact of the black and white screen, the flickering, well, the battery life on these is 100% brilliant. This thing can go forever on 4 batteries. I mean, this thing is marvellous. But that's purely on the basis that it was only black and green. So, I mean, you spend your money, you take your odds, you get your chances, you get what you pay for, didn't you? But yeah, it undercut the market by price and life expectancy, and it had a huge catalogue of games. But due to the black and white screen, or black and green screen, I'm only going to give it 3 out of 5 in my opinion. And that's just me being critical of it, so don't take it the wrong way. I still think this thing's brilliant, and it's a real classic. Anyway, let's see what next one then.
And the thing started heating up.
Here we go, the Atari Lynx 2. There was a one previous to this. Now I'm going to put this on, providing it works. It's been a long time. I don't use any of these consoles anymore, but I vowed I'd never get rid of them. Now, technologically speaking, and graphically, and even the engineering standpoint, this thing is far superior to anything the Game Boy could ever do. Now, on here at the moment I've got Lemmings, and you'll see as regards just the opening bit here, if you can see this. It's got a full colour screen. It has better sounds, and you have the ability that if you wanted to, you could flip it round. That's why there's 2 lots of buttons either side at the top and the bottom. Don't know if you can see all that is going on. Yeah, that's Lemmings. And that'll really get on your wick, that song, so we'll turn it off. But anyway, unfortunately, it wasn't supported by the third-party manufacturers for games. The battery life is its biggest problem. I suppose if you played it non-stop, you may get 35, 40 minutes. I know somebody's going to come up now and say, no, I get 50 in an hour and a half. It's not true. It will not last that long. Not unless you've got the most expensive batteries you can find in the entire universe, and it still gobbles these things up like there's no tomorrow. And if you put cheaper batteries into it, sometimes it wouldn't even come on for more than about 5 minutes. But graphically, this thing was brilliant. I think it was 16-bit, if I recall. I mean, as regards handhelds, this thing was way ahead of its time. But because of the lack of software, the bad support, and obviously it was a lot more expensive than the Game Boy, it had a very, very short life, unfortunately. I still think it could have been great, the Atari Lynx, but like everything that Atari do, they always mess it up. I'm sorry, Atari, you made some damn good consoles and games, but you always mess it up in the end when you start trying to go ahead of the game too much, and your price tag just doesn't fit. But this handheld console was technologically brilliant for its time, but badly supported and bad battery life because of the backlit colour screen. You're only going to get 2 out of 5, I'm afraid. Could I recommend this? No, not really. It's nice to own, but I couldn't recommend it. It's about as portable as a brick. Ah, never mind. Let's go on to the next one.
And around we go. The sound as we head.
Right. This is a perfect handheld console in my opinion. It's the Neo Geo Pocket Color. They did a black and white one. This is the colour one. Now, these things are rare. They're not easy to come by, and they are not cheap. As you know, the Neo Geo wasn't a cheap console, so they're hard to come by, and these are especially hard. It had a good library of games. The thing was portable, small, it had a nice display screen, and it had Sonic on it. Now, let's see if we can get this on camera properly. That's not working, is it? Why is it so dark, this thing? Let me see if I can brighten it up. It's been a long time since I used this little guy. Apparently you can't. Ah, I've got you. If I tilt it, you might be able to see it better. Graphically, I think it's a 16-bit as well. This is not working on this camera, is it? I'm sorry about that. You'll have to take my word for it that it looks good. Actually, bear me one moment. Here we go, look. Now you can see it, can't you? And graphically, as you can see, it's well advanced of the Atari Lynx and the original Game Boy. But for good reason, this thing's come along a lot later. And I'll tell you what, there's some great games on this. See if we can get it to start. That's it, that'll do. Here we go. Now, this is all this game essentially is just Sonic 1, Sonic 2 port, and it's excellent. Faultless game, faultless Sonic. You can see it's brilliant. There's no fault with this game whatsoever. Apart from the fact you can't really see it that well, I'm sorry. And if you notice by the battery light there, I think we're about to lose it. So there we go. An excellent handheld console. One of my favourites. Not badly supported. I think essentially what was wrong with this is I think it came out at the wrong time. The console itself hasn't really got any faults. It doesn't last that long, but it's only got 2 batteries, so I mean, for the sake of the Atari Lynx that uses 6, you get this 3 times, don't you? The screen's clearer, the controls are better, it's got an analog stick. It is a lovely handheld, and nice little neat cartridges, so tiny and dinky and nice. I would recommend this console definitely. I'd give it 4 out of 5 easy. But if you can get hold of it, that is. So I'm only taking off 1 point purely on the basis that the games are hard to come by, the console is overpriced, and you want the colour one, you don't want the black and white. Nice little console.